Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. I am once again with Mark Farner, the lead singer, the former lead singer, lead guitarist, and 90% of the songwriting for Grand Funk Railroad. And he's got an excellent new album out called Closer to My Home. There it is there. It came out last November.
Yeah.
And uh, I just want to say, like, yeah, right. Yeah, you've got the vinyl. I'll say right away the very first song, Anymore. Like, you're never sure when even an artist you love, a new album. I would say the first 20 seconds, I'm gonna buy it, because
Awesome.
you've still got your voice.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah. And I loved the second verse. I was kind of surprised, right? But it was good of you to say it, right? You
Thank
said, uh, in the beginning, it was me and my band. It's sad to say that we don't play together anymore. It's not the quantity, it's the honesty, my friends. The story ends and I'm not angry with them anymore. That
Yeah.
says quite a bit. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember the first interview I did with you a couple of years ago, but we already talked about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like you've been asked that question a million times.
Yes.
Probably never going to happen. Not in our lifetime. But it's just a pathetic joke that Grand Funk isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well,
And
it's the indication that there's no people involved, and it's all corporate decisions that enter who gets in and who doesn't.
yeah,
There are so many, like you say, Larry. There's so many that should be there that are not, and so many that are there that shouldn't be.
yeah, all of these rap artists. Nothing against their talent, but they're not rock and roll.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, we talked last time about the reunion. 2 years later, there's still nothing, of course. So
Right. Yeah.
let's move on.
Let's move on, brother.
Yeah. So the album was produced by Mark Slaughter of Slaughter. How did he become the producer?
He became the producer when he sent me some tracks via email link, and I opened them up, Larry, and I started listening. I'm going, wow, this production. The first thing that hit me was the production of what I was listening to. In a stereo mix, you've got everything across the board. I could point to where the guitar was coming from, where the bass was coming from, where the snare drum. It was so there.
Yeah.
Just a perfect spread of the instruments and sounded so good. I thought, man, whoever produced this did a good job. And so rather than to, type him back or text him back, I picked up the phone. I did it the old way.
Wow.
I picked up the phone. I said, Slaughter, I got your link. And the first thing I got to say is, who produced that stuff? And he said, I did.
Wow.
I went, you're kidding me. Where did you do that? He says, I did that in my studio. I'm going, oh, man, you got something going on. He says, brother, I want to produce you. I want you to know that I will produce you and I will get you better sounds than what you're hearing right here. And I thought, oh, my God, this must be from heaven, because I had been, it was on my mind. And Slaughter, when I met him, in person, we both hit it off great together. He's got Native American blood in his bloodline. I have it in my bloodline. So we have a tribal relationship, as well as just loving each other as brothers. And, musicians, it's a small world. The family is relatively small compared to the population, but we back each other up. We've got a kindredship, if you will. And it was great to work with him. And with that in mind, just doing things with him, he would make a suggestion, like the verse that you just read. He did most of that in the studio. He says, why don't you go from this angle? I had a second verse, but it wasn't It wasn't coordinated like that. It wasn't saying it like that says it.
Right.
And I said, yeah, let's go with yours. So we co-wrote it. I gave
Yeah.
him a half, right on the thing, because it's who I am. I'm
Yeah.
not holding anything against anybody, because that eats your power
Yeah.
up. It's my power. I'll do with it what I want to. I'm not going to hate somebody because they shit on me.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it, because that would give them some satisfaction. And it puts me in the lurch, because I'm holding this debt consciousness. I want to get rid of all the debt consciousness, brother.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. Are you, is there any hope of maybe a follow-up? Like, are you thinking maybe, in the next few months? Because
Yeah.
have you got some songs prepared already, or?
Man, I'm working on one right now. It just came in the last few weeks, started getting little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And I have on my computer, I use Mark of the Unicorn, digital performer, because I know this program and it works well for me. And I can take the what do they call those things? I can't remember what they call them, but I could take each individual track and send that in a file to Mark wherever he's at. If he's in Nashville or wherever he's at, and he's got his rig set up or his computer set up, he can download those files and put them in the mix. So I've been working on it, and it's nearly finished. All I got to do is get I think I'm going to have Josh Egan play drums on it. He played drums on this album, Closer to My Home, on a couple of tracks, and did a great job. So I'm going to get a hold of him and see if he'll slap some skins on there for me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of the song, I love every song. I would say, I think, well, one of the most moving, of course, is Tiny Fingers. It's a beautiful tribute to your son, and sorry about your loss with him.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. Yeah. Tiny Fingers, Tiny Hands, Looks Like Daddy's Little Man. I Could Hardly Wait to See My Baby Look at Me. And he passed away at the age of 29 in 2018. So had you written that recently, or?
Oh, years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago. And it's just a story about life. And the guy that played keyboards on there, Larry, is he had lost his daughter here a couple of years back. And when Slaughter said, it needs to be just you, your acoustic guitar, he says, and a piano or a keyboard of some kind. And that's it. No drums, no bass, nothing else.
Yeah, you could have overproduced it, right? Like, with strings, and it's much nicer just sparse like that.
And the guy, Paul Ojibwe, he's another Native American that he has a feeling for his past daughter. And when we got done, Brother Larry, we were listening back to for the first time to the lyrics and all the music, and we just looked at each other and busted out in tears, and we're hugging each other and snot's running out of our nose. What a refreshing moment to be able to embrace and produce something that was really from our hearts, and it hit us both the same way. It was something we needed to do, man, to get it off our chest and off our mind.
Yeah. If you don't mind, is there anything you'd like to say about Jesse and his life? Like,
well, he was our youngest, of course.
Yeah.
And there was him and Jason, our oldest, were born on the same day, 9 years apart.
Wow.
So his older brother, Jason, it was more like they were twins in Jason's eyes, because He loved him so much. And Joseph loved him as well. He was easy to love, this guy. And, we miss him. We still have the love in our hearts, but here on planet Earth, in this form of being, this love has no place to go. We can't put our arms around him.
Yeah.
We can't show him physically, but every day we think about him.
Yeah.
The kids were standing out, some of his friends standing out front, and this butterfly came along, this monarch butterfly, started flitting around everybody and like going in between, and Lisa said, "Hang on, just be still." And this butterfly went up and down. Chris, the guy who was driving Jesse for the last few years that he was here on the planet, he driving around in the handicap van and taking care of him, this butterfly landed on the heel of his shoe. And then Lisa looked down and said, "Oh my God, that butterfly's on the back of your shoe there." And it was just kind of opening and closing his wings. And then it went, it came up, and Chris put his hand out, and that butterfly landed right in his hand. And Chris is a working man. I mean, he's got calloused hands. He's got rough hands, but that butterfly, I can still, in my mind's eye, see the beauty and the soft, delicate butterfly on those hands. And he was saying, it was Jesse, man. It was Jesse.
Yeah.
He was saying, things are cool where I'm at,
And some people, they would just ignore that, right? Even like it's a message, right? Like,
yeah, brother.
And some people just would, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
It's just a butterfly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know people that are pissed off because they haven't seen any angels. So therefore they refuse to believe in them.
Well, Mark, speaking of being pissed off, I'm pissed off that you had a death experience and I didn't. And no, I would, I have heard the story, but my viewers, some of them might not have. So if you don't mind, and maybe go into a bit more detail about it too, if you can.
Well, yeah, back in 2012, it was October 23rd, 2012. My wife, Lisa, and I, my wife of 47 years, my better 3/4, we were in Detroit doing some PR, promotional work. You know what I'm talking about, Larry.
Yeah.
And we were doing radio stations and what have you. And we stayed right there on the river. And my wife got up in the morning. She was doing her thing, in the bathroom. And she said when she came out of the bathroom, and this is at the Renaissance Center down there, she looked and she said, my left arm shot up in the air. And she thought I'd just, fooling around. And then she looked and my leg kicked up in the air, and I was out on the floor flopping around like a wounded tuna. And she flipped out and called down to the front desk, told them, hurry up and send, somebody up here. And so paramedics were there in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes that are on staff there at the hotel. And they had me on oxygen. That's when I first started coming to and going, what the hell's going on here? Who are you guys? Where did you come from? And they had a ambulance waiting down, and took me down on a gurney, rolled me into the back of this ambulance and over to Harper Hospital in Detroit. They put me on an external pacemaker. And what happened was I had a bundle branch block, which means, a branch of your nerves, the ones that cause your heart muscle to contract and squeeze and pump the blood.
Yep.
They didn't get the signal. They just laying there going, oh, I wonder what's going on. They didn't get it. And so I'm on this external pacemaker in emergency room, in a big room that had these 3 doctors looking at a monitor over maybe 5 feet from us. I say us, but
Yeah.
it was me hooked all these wires to me, and I'm laying there because I was kind of in and out of it. And I looked over, and I'm looking around this room, and all of a sudden it's like wham, it was like they plugged me straight into the wall, dude. They hit me hard, and I hollered out, "Ah!" I mean, I really hollered out, and I can holler
Yeah.
loud.
Right.
And my wife comes running in there. She goes, "What's the matter, honey? What's the matter?" I said, "Those guys, it feels like they just plugged me into the wall, man. They're fixing to kill." And when I said, "Well, they're fixing to kill me," they hit me again, and I died.
Yeah.
That was the electric shock that killed me, not the bundle branch block at that
Right.
point.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other people. They go, "Well, what do you think? Those 3 guys, what do you think?" I said, "They never looked at me. I hollered. My wife was hollering to the top of her lungs. Not one of them would turn around to see what the hell was going on." I said, in my mind's eye, I'm thinking in hindsight, were those guys maybe part of a cult or something? The thought goes through your mind, especially when it takes a doctor coming in from the hallway going, "What the hell's going on in here?" And he comes over, and finally one of the guys turned around, said something to him, but they had already had this charge on the way. Bam, I'm gone again. I mean, twice. And when I came to, this doctor standing there, when I came back into my body the second time, because I was gone.
Yeah.
I was in a place, it was my tense of being was completely conscious, but not in my body.
Right.
It's who we really are in spirit that inhabits this bone suit. Some call it an earthen vessel.
Mhm.
Well, that's what it is. But the spirit, dude, when I left this thing,
Yep.
I immediately got relief. I mean, like, I can't explain in human words, brother, how good, how wonderful, how awesome and peaceful it is on the other side of
Mhm.
this existence. When we leave the bone suit, the only thing we take with us is the love. Yeah, because then we realize on the other side, that at least I realized in that tense of being, that I'm right back where I started from. It's like coming home after a long time out on the road.
Yeah.
Hey, let's party. I'm here. But it was the relief that I experienced of the indebtedness that we do not realize piles up on us. It is accumulative in its nature, debt, DEBT, not just financial debt. It's all this other bullshit debt that people put on us with unfulfilled expectations, and that we put on ourselves with regret. There's all types of debt, but it accumulates in the read-only memory, in the ROM back there, in the computer. The RAM, where we operate every day, which is present moment, which you and I are experiencing right now, and your viewing audience, we are in RAM, the random access memory. But the things that have happened that are still in us are held back in the ROM part, in the hard drive.
Yep.
So that's where it accumulates in the subconscious, this debt, but it's layer after layer after layer, and it has the same effect. It's putting weight upon us. And when I died, brother, that weight came off. Oh my God, I didn't realize how laden down I was, burdened to death with this debt consciousness. And since I got back in this bone suit, I have been setting myself free. I'm free because I know what it is. And when I say debt consciousness, people that hear that for the first time and anticipate, you know, what I'm thinking about and what I'm talking about, and they actually allow themselves to realize that they themselves are the ones who's going to set their own self free, because nobody's coming along with a magic wand, brother.
Yeah.
They're not going to touch you and whoop, you're free. You have to do that yourself.
Yeah.
I discovered it by dying. I had talked about it for 8 years prior. I was telling Lisa, there's something about this debt consciousness that I'm getting from the Lord. You know, the Creator gave me this understanding about debt consciousness, but it was sealed, brother, when I left my body, and on the way back in the second time, man, it was shown to me. Wow.
Yeah.
There's things that I experienced on the other side, Brother Larry, that I can't even put into words. Like on the other side, I know that I had the revelation of what the purpose of these earth years was for me.
Yep.
What the purpose of this experience in the bone suit is. Yep. What its purpose is. You think I could bring that back with me?
Yeah.
Damn.
And I've heard that from, you know, you see so many stories, right? People that have had this experience. Yeah. So did this, so do you feel you changed as a person when you came back? Like,
yeah, with that kind of revelation, Larry, you couldn't help but change.
Yeah.
But I am the basic nice guy. You know why I'm a nice guy? Because in my heart, it is my intention to be nice, to exercise forgiveness. Because that's why Lisa and I have been married for 47 years. It's all about forgiveness. And what is forgiveness? It's the definition of love. That's what true love is. It's forgiveness. You know, what did Jesus do on the cross? He forgave everybody so that, you know, we could have this everlasting life. And I was never much of, you know, going to church, and I did it for a while, but there was things that just turned me off about it. And then I got into the Bible and found out, you know, it says in 2 Corinthians, it says, don't give if somebody is compelling you to give, and don't give begrudgingly, but give, you know, from a cheerful heart, because God loves a cheerful giver. And who is God? God is love, period. So what church have you been to lately that didn't pass a plate down there and compel you to give, and even preach to you about tithing and say that you are robbing from the storehouse of God? And they quote some Old Testament scripture, but you know, the law has been fulfilled. Don't bring me the Old Testament shit into this modern day church, because you're using that to put condemnation and guilt on people, saying that you're robbing the storehouse of God. You're by not tithing. Oh man, that's putting it on them. That's then you're giving begrudgingly. You know, if you cave into that shit. But seriously, you know, God is real because love is real.
Yep.
The church is as wrong as the church can be. I'm talking about the modern day church. Every institution, whether it's a church or a ministry, you know, marriage counselors or whatever it is, if they operate under a 501c3 tax exemption from the Infernal Revenue Service, then they have given the devil authority over the ministry they are supposed to have for God. Is supposed to set people free. I don't see anything more contrary that's going on, man. It's just sickening to think about.
I don't go to church either, but I'm spiritual. I just try and be a good person, right?
Amen,
like,
brother.
That's all you can do.
Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah. Now going back to the Grand Funk years, I was 12 years old when I had this. And do you have any memories of this actual concert? Like, Or is
Oh
it?
yeah.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a bit about that? Or
A little cloudy now
yeah,
because part of the experience that I had when I died was I lost some of my shit.
not the Grand Funk history shit.
Boy, God forbid.
Yeah,
But I really did. I
yeah.
used to shoot with a state policeman downstate, friend of mine, but I didn't remember when he drove up in my driveway and he got out of his Corvette and he's coming over with his arms open and I'm going, who the hell is this? I didn't remember him.
Wow.
And then he showed me a picture of him and me, and one of my gold records. We're standing there, we're partying. Uh, I lost it. I lost that part of my life, and I lost some other stuff that people swear to me that they, did this and we did this together. I couldn't tell you for sure, but that concert I do have. I mean, and it was actually a couple of different concerts that
Mhm.
live album
Mhm.
was taken from. And I remember, I don't know which part it was, but I remember the enthusiasm, the emotional rush that came over me, that like the audience was just in unison loving what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we represented to the people back then, we represented what the songs were saying, man. You know, you think about it, save the land. Uh, you think about it, freedom is for children. You know, uh, a lot of songs back then were speaking right directly to our time,
Yeah.
and to the brothers and sisters. And I call everybody brothers and sisters of just being here on earth. Our relationship is that we are here together at the same time, and we are brothers and sisters in my mind. We don't have to be the same color. We don't have to be the same religion or the same beliefs to be brothers and sisters. I think we're kindred folks in the fact that we got hearts that are beating red blood, and it's all red. Every one of us carries red blood.
Yep.
And that ought to be a convincer for everyone to drop the racial bullshit and let's just get together on the love part.
Yeah. And speaking of the Grand Funk years, what's a favorite memory of yours for Mel and Don, like separately? One of your favorite memories of them?
Well, I would have to say for Melvin, now him and I went to the same school together.
Yeah.
We jammed together. We smoked pot together. We rode dirt bikes together. Listen, he had a 650 BSA and he used it like a dirt bike. And I remember going in a gravel pit with him one time, and he says, "Get on the back, Mark." I said, "Let me take you for a ride." I had a 250 Ducati with bolts that went through the rear shocks, so they didn't work when you let out the clutch. It didn't. There was no give. It just came up. So, anyways, I parked my Ducati up against a tree. It didn't have a kickstand. And I got on the back of that 650. Oh my God. We were higher in the Georgia pines. We hadn't been drinking,
Yeah.
but we smoked.
Yeah.
And we're going this path. And all of a sudden the path, it was straight down for about 50 feet. And just lucky it had enough slope when we landed to push the shocks to the bottom as we both are hanging on for dear life. And when it came back up, he stopped that thing and he turned around. And he says, "Are you all right?" And I, yeah, and I got sense enough to get off this son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I walked back over to my Ducati.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And with Brewer, it was kind of a dirt bike thing.
Yeah.
He had a 250 Bull Taco. His bike had a headlight, and John White, his bike had a tail light. So there was Brewer in the front, Kurt Johnson, Jerry Tunningly, myself. There was the guy who runs a paint shop in Linden. And anyways, there's this line of bikes, the headlight on the front, the tail light on the back. Nobody else had lights, dude. And we've all got like GIQs. We're drinking.
Yeah.
You know, just kids back on the dirt roads. And all of a sudden we come over a hill and this cop passes us. And then it's like, what? The lights go on and we running through Swartz Creek. They didn't catch anybody. We all scattered, and I ended up over at Brewer's house, and we were man, we was nervous. We had the bikes in the garage with the door closed, and they were hotter than the sheriff's pistol, man. I'm telling you, those things, we wrung them out getting over there. That was a great experience for a young man.
Yeah.
Very, I mean, you don't forget things like that.
Yeah. And you were, of course, in Ringo's Allstar band in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
Was there a particular, you know, like one of the other All-Stars, like there was Billy Preston, Randy Bachman, Felix Cavalier. Was there one that you particularly kind of connected with, or?
Yeah, Felix.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Felix and Billy Preston and I got along great. I mean, everybody in that band. Entwistle came to me and he said, Mark, I'm hearing some harmonic notes when I'm playing I'm Your Captain. I wonder, would you mind if I tried something? I went, Entwistle's asking me if I mind if this bass playing maniac, yes, please try it. Please try it. And so we were in Japan.
Yeah, I saw the footage. Yeah, just today. Yeah.
Oh my God. And what he did, the boom, 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 where that came from, it was inspirational. It came from the creativity that the creator gave to Entwistle. And what a great guy he was.
Yeah.
And like we were playing an outdoor gig, and we would always pray before we went on stage, the band.
Yep.
And whoever wanted to come into the circle, and we just, because we get given it to love. I mean, it is hot outside, the humid. We're playing outdoors, and we know it's going to be sweaty up on that stage. So, anyways, we join hands, and we're in the circle, and Entwistle steps into the circle for the first time ever, and Felix Cavalier is praying, and he gets done, and everybody says amen, and Entwistle looks over and he said, well, you could have said something about the weather.
Yeah.
He was a great dude.
Yeah. It's sad though, you know, the rock and roll lifestyle for some of these, you know, what happened with them. And
become vulnerable because you know, those types of people, the pusher man, they kind of are magnetized. They are drawn to, and the way I've seen it anyways, in the business, for as long as I've been in the business, I've watched a lot of my former friends get it through overdosing.
Yeah. And I remember your story about Jimi Hendrix giving you a little bit of whatever it was, and that was the last for you, right? Like,
oh yeah, the first and the last, buddy.
Yeah.
Took one lesson and I learned it well.
Yeah.
It was a cross between cocaine and heroin.
Yeah.
And I just did one little off the end of a switchblade knife, but that, not having done anything like that before, that's all it took to cure my ass.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I puked, I got sick, I passed out. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was a weakling, but I
Yeah.
thank God for that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thank God that I was. I didn't have a tolerance for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when in your early years, what were musical influences for you?
Well, guitar wise, of
Mhm.
course, Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
Jeff Beck, Yardbirds days, Train Kept a Rolling. Man,
Yeah.
that lead on Train Kept a Rolling. Oh my God. And of course, Steve Cropper, he was a influence because what a soulful guy, playing, sitting on the dock of the bay and did all that beautiful guitar work in there. I always admired his input, his taste, the way he would come up with things. His style was just, and then I got to play in a band with him. It was great.
Mhm.
But Rick Derringer, another one,
Yep.
another American guitar player. Here I am in Tokyo, Japan at the World Music Fair, and I'm over there in a PV electronics booth, and I'm playing, and I'm, people are gathered around, and I'm playing. I'm showing these guitar amps, the tube amps that PV had at the time, and I'm listening, and I'm hearing this guitar off over across way over there, but this guitar is ripping, and I went, "Wow, man!" I said, "That if that's a Japanese guy, he's got this American rock and roll down." I said, I handed my guitar over and I said, I'm going to take a little break right now. So I had to get over while that music was still going so I could track it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get to this stage and there's Derringer. And I went, oh my God, no wonder it sounds so good.
Yeah.
But guitar wise, those are my guys. And vocal wise, there's only one guy, Howard Tate. And he was the guy, and I loved Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
I loved Aretha Franklin, Donny Hathaway. I loved, a lot of singers, but I'm talking when I heard Howard Tate, I said, I want to sing like that. I want to be able to hit those notes. And so I tried patterning myself. I got the huffs from Howard Tate. The wow, hitting it twice. Yeah, it's. I didn't do it up until I heard that, but the first time I heard it, I said, "Man, I got to put that in my shit." So I did.
So, what is your, the very first time you were recording, like for the first album? What memories do you have of the first album?
Well, the very first album we recorded in Cleveland Recording Company, which is downtown Cleveland, Ohio. And here we are, we're country boys. We come into the city and the elevator, that the doors open out of the sidewalk. Here it is. Boom. It's a platform. You put your shit on there and down it goes. And the recording studio was in the basement of this building in Cleveland. And I thought, wow, that's great. Well, let's get down there and see what it looks like. And so we went in, and Ken Hammond, the owner of the studio, who was a great engineer, a great resource for tube mics and just microphones in general. He had a collection that was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, man. In today's money, forget about it. Millions. But I discovered that his method, rather than to use the equalization on the board and adjust, your mids, your lows, your high, he would say, don't touch that. Let me try this mic on it. And he would try a half dozen different mics until they got to one that the nature of that microphone was representative of the tone that Terry Knight was after. And that's how they put the albums together. No EQ added, because every time you add a little EQ, you're adding to the noise floor. And back then, of course, it was all analog, and that noise floor was very present. prevalent when you drop the needle in the groove.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Terry Knight kind of gets bashed a little bit for his production. Frank Zappa was even when he produced, and I love Frank Zappa, but he
Yeah.
was saying it wasn't well produced. I love like the Red album. I think it sounds incredible, right? Like,
Yeah, there's something
and-
there.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And the only thing is with Survival, there was the thing with Don's drum kit and Terry's idea of
Putting the towels over them.
I mean, I love the album, but yeah, the drums could have been better on that.
Yeah, I agree.
So, just one more thing about the 70s. How did you handle, all that fame, success, selling out Shea Stadium, the egos? Like, do you ever think you went too far with your ego or anything, or you held it in check pretty well, or?
I think, yeah, because the first album that we put out, it was a million seller.
Yeah.
And I started playing guitar when I was 15 years old, and we had our first million selling album when I was 20.
Yeah.
So things were happening very fast. So fast that the realization of what really was going on, we were riding the wave, man. It was like that wave was up and rolling, and we were on our surfboards right in the middle of that curl the whole time, shooting a curl. And we didn't really have time to think about, how big the band was and how we accepted it, because being the songwriter, when we did Shea Stadium, it was all my music. Every original track was written by me, 100%.
Yep.
And the people showed up because they loved the music. They loved the band because we were saying something to our brothers and sisters as a band, but it was me. I am who my songs say I am. Nobody else is. So I think the egos didn't have time to get all blowed up. Well, some of them didn't.
Yeah. And did you feel like with every album, did you feel more and more pressure as the years went by to, have a hit album or hit single, or?
Well, I think after Shining On, American band, Shining On, All the Girls in the World, we had hits, Bad Time to Be in Love, Some Kind of Wonderful, All the Girls. Up until after that, when Born to Die, when Born to Die came out, the band was kind of like on out. So when I say the band, it was Brewer and I, because it was his quitting the band in 1976 that really broke us up. Initially, he said he had to do something. He had to find something else to do that was more, I can't remember the word terminology that he used, but it was more stable. Yeah, I think that's what it was, more stable to do with his life. And he said, I'm out of it. And I said, do you mean you quit? I quit. And he walks out, got back in his car and took off.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So I knew something was up with him. And, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't claim to know, what the reason for anything. And I'm not going to speculate, because you start speculating and that's all it is, just speculation. I don't know what it is, but I have prayed for years for both Don and Mel that they would want to get back together and give the fans the original one and only Grand Funk Railroad, because no matter who it is, I don't care how great they are, it's not going to be the same noise that Don, Mark, and Mel can make. And,
when you see a recent picture of Grand Funk Railroad, it's like, that's not Grand Funk Railroad. I'm sorry. Like, they could be as talented as anything, but they're not Grand Funk Railroad. I'm sorry.
Right on. Right on, brother. Yeah. That's how I feel too.
And getting back to your fine new album, Closer to My Home, the other thing I wanted to mention was like I said, I love every song, but if radio was the way it used to be, I think Friends Forever would, I could just hear it on the radio. It's such a radio, that's a radio hit. Like if you could possibly get it on the radio these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the radio certainly isn't what it used to be. It used to be in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
The 777 rule was put into effect to prevent the monopolization of the radio airwaves, the total. But when Clinton deregulated, it went from, you could own 7 AM, 7 FM, 7 television stations, and that put a limit on it. It's kind of like what they did to Rockefeller back in the day when they said, hey, you can't have all these oil, you can't have because it's a monopoly.
Yeah.
And so they busted that up. And he went into making medicine with his oil or drugs. I don't know how much medicine's in there, but the same thing happened with radio. And even though when I play out, there's still a rock community, there's still a rock and roll community that has lived through the same thing that I have lived through, and we miss those wonderful days where the dude, the DJ was the guy that kept us all together. He was telling us and playing music from halfway across the country, bands that we'd never heard of, and he'd spin the track. I remember Bob Dell in Flint, Michigan, when he played Hush, I thought I heard her calling my name now, oh my God. It was like, and he had heard it when he was in California, brought it back and spun it. And that's how music got around.
Yeah.
Instead of being now, some guy in New York City is programming the playlist for 3,500 stations.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no disc jockey there. They're just playing the tape. And on radio, when I was working a few years back, they'd have the radio on. It would be you'd hear the same songs day after day after day, like
yeah, brother.
The same 5 songs. Right?
Yeah, man. Yep.
So, what about tour dates for this album?
We are
coming up.
Yeah, we're the agent Jim Lenz from TKO and my manager Abby Steinman from Just Having Fun Productions. They are at all of these fair buyers convention and buyers conventions that occur throughout the winter. And that's where bands obtain most of the play dates that they will be playing in the summer, is after this winter and after these conventions where the buyers get together. And my agent called me and said, things are looking good, Farner. You're going to be touring. We're going to be backing this album up. And we are, the band is chomping at the bit, man.
Yeah.
To get out. We always love to get out and do it up, man.
Yeah. How do you prepare yourself before you go on stage? And do you get like nervous or anything? Or
I always get nervous.
Yeah.
But I have to play my guitar for like an hour. I have to loosen up. And it used to be I could just go out there, but now, I'm 76 years old. I gotta work my way into it.
Yeah.
I thank God that I'm still singing the songs in the same key I wrote them in.
Yeah.
And I prepared just by psyching out in playing that guitar, playing the licks, getting ready, and I do some, running in place and get my blood pumping and do some jumping jacks and stuff, just kind of, because physically I don't want to get to where I just stand there in front of a microphone. That's like, you might as well go watch a tree grow.
Yeah.
I like to express what I'm doing, and my audience expects me to be part of that. That show is the expression of what I'm doing and showing how much fun I'm still having fun. If I wasn't having fun, Larry, I wouldn't be up there.
Yeah, yeah. And just one more quick question.
Yeah.
Are you a vinyl guy or a CD guy?
I'm a vinyl guy. I've got, I love vinyl.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got my setup and I'm playing my vinyl back through tube amplifiers and speaker cabinets that have 15-inch drivers, 4 15s. I'm listening to what I play through on stage. I play through 15s. I'm not a 12 guy. I'm not a 10 guy. I'm a 15 guy. I've even got amplifier company, Avery Amplifiers, who makes a Mark Farner's American Band model, and it's called the 15. And it is badass. Beautiful little amp. It don't weigh nothing, but man, it sounds like $1,000,000. It's great.
Well, thank you very much for your time. And like I said, this is a superb new album. I hope everyone checks it out if they haven't already.
Thank you, Larry.
You've still got your voice. You've
Thank
still
you,
got. Oh, I just wanted to mention your guitar on this. I love the. Now, if you do another record, one thing.
Yeah.
I want some more guitar, like a longer guitar solo, Mark. At least
Okay.
on one song, stretch it out.
All right. Okay. I'll take that. I keep that in mind. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's a good input. Thank you.
So, yeah, I highly recommend this for everyone to check out. Closer to My Home, Mark Farner. So thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you, Brother Larry Graves.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. Good to be with you again.
Thank you.